All right, I think we're set up. Is the audio quality still okay? Because sometimes when I have a lot of windows open up, it kind of starts breaking up. All good?
It's fine.
All right. All right, so what is this message? There we go. All right, once again, my name is Sean Smith. I'm a full-time faculty member at Lone Star College, Cy-Fair. I've been there for just over 5 years now. I just made my anniversary there. I've also worked full-time at a four-year university back in Louisiana before I came here. Did that for 10 years. So I've been teaching math for quite a long period of time. Even in graduate school, I taught a remedial math class while trying to get my master's degree. All right, so there's my contact information on there. My phone number's there. That's my office phone number to my on-campus office. But if you call that, all you're going to get is my voicemail since I'm not working on campus this semester. Probably not until it looks like next spring, to be honest. I won't be back on campus. All right, so the easiest way to contact me is through email. So if you email me, there's my email address, sean.m.smith@lonestar.edu. I'm usually pretty good about responding back to emails. So if you send me an email, probably within an hour or so, I'll reply back. If you haven't heard something or a reply back from me within, say, a day or so, that probably got overlooked or went in my spam folder or something like that. So shoot me another email, but I'm usually pretty good about responding pretty quickly to most of my emails that come through. All right. My dean is Sam Thomas. He's actually a new boss to me. We've actually switched divisions at this. Our math department used to be in Division 2. Now we're in Division 1. So if there's anything you need to talk to a superior, that's my next up in the chain of command. So feel free to contact them. Anything about the course, if you need something about trying to get into a class with your schedule or something like that, any kind of conflicts, they're the people to go to. So their location is in Case, if you're ever on campus, Case 215. I've actually never been to his office yet either. So email address and phone number is there as well. All right, so I'm actually teaching two sections of pre-calculus. So some of you guys may be in pre-calculus section 5015 and some may be in 5017. Both of them are the exact same course, okay? So I just combine you guys all together. It makes it easier on me, especially being in an online class. All right, so when you enrolled, you probably saw, well, it shows that I'm in section 5015 and I had to register for 5016 as well. The 5016 class is not necessarily a separate class, okay? They're both late. It's just one class that you're taking. The reason why they do that, I think it's because Lone Star's registration system, everything defaults to like a 3 credit hour course. This is a 4 credit hour course, so they have to designate another section to make up the extra hours in there. So, but just realize there is no separate course in there. So if you're in 5015, you also did 5016. If you're in 5017, you also did 5018 attached to it. So you would only get one grade, okay? So the course is for the full semester. So classes started yesterday. So if you logged into my math lab, that's the program that we're going to be using for instruction and homework and tests and pretty much everything throughout the entire course. There were some assignments that are available to you. They're not due until later on. You got plenty of time to get them completed, but if you take a look in there, I'll show you that in just a second of what my math lab looks like and where to navigate throughout the program to get to the assignments. All right, so take note of this right here. Hopefully y'all can see this screen, right? You should be looking at the syllabus right now. My math lab course ID, it's Smith 90414. That's the course ID you need to enroll into my math lab if you haven't done so already. I know quite a bit of people have already registered even before we've met. Obviously, you need to have some level of prerequisites to take pre-calculus. Yeah, you need to have taken college algebra, math 13-14, and also trigonometry. So Pre-calculus is heavy emphasis on both of those. Lots of college algebra information and lots of trig information. All right, so I would say that trig, if you weren't the best trig student, that's not going to be a big problem in pre-calculus. It's just mostly your basic trig is what's used in pre-calculus. So make sure you know your right triangle trigonometry, a few sum and difference formulas, those kinds of things that are used. Okay, so nothing's super heavy. All right, so pre-calculus, there is no calculus actually done in this class. So pre-calculus is to prepare you for taking future calculus courses, either be all three of them, Calc 1, 2, and 3, or some people just need one of them, but you'll have a good foundation for those classes when the time comes to take those. So we're going to, a basic idea of what calculus is. Calculus 1 is the foundation of everything that's going to lead into Calc 1 and 2, Calc 2 and 3, that is. So it's the study of rates of change. That's basically what calculus is. If you do well in pre-calculus, most people do well in Calc 1. When you get to Calc 2, that's where everybody says that is the hard calculus. That is true. That's the harder of all the three of the calculus classes there is. Calc 2 is kind of going in the reverse of everything that you've learned in Calc 1. Okay. And then when you get to Calc 3, I call that the fun calculus class. That's everything is in kind of like three-dimensional. You're looking at areas of solids and things of that sort, things in the real world. You actually see how all that comes together. So that's pretty fun in that class. I don't teach Calc 2 or 3. It's been a very, very long time since I've ever taught those classes. So right now I'm just sticking to what I do best, I think. I teach almost everything up to Calculus 1 right now. I teach trigonometry, pre-calculus, statistics, Calc 1, college algebra, developmental courses too. I'm in there as well. So I teach another class, Math for Teachers. That's a unique class. If you have ever take that one, that's kind of a fun class to take too. All right, so I'm not going to go through all the student learning objectives. Those are the things that you'll learn throughout the course. Some of the concepts and ideas we'll be talking about. All right, so the textbook. You don't actually have to have a physical textbook for this class. Whenever you're going to enroll in my math lab, you'll have the option to purchase the textbook if you wish. Some people like to have a hard copy of it. I think it comes as a physical hard copy textbook, or you can get a loose leaf bound version where you put all that into your own binder if you want. So there's several different options if you want to do that route. However, the PDF version of the textbook is housed within the program. So if you need to reference anything from the textbook, you can do so that way. You do have a couple of options about how to purchase my Math Lab access codes. When you first go into register or continue on from a previous username and ID, enrolling in another course is going to give you the option of doing, I think it's an 18-week access code. So that lasts for one entire semester if you want to do that. It's a little bit, that's the cheapest route. Or you can probably buy a whole year's worth, or maybe 18 months or 24 months. I don't recall all the different options, but the price goes up. But most people are just going to buy the one semester option. The other options are only there in case you think maybe you may have to take this class again at another time with the same textbook. And that way you can just spend a few extra dollars and you have a whole entire, say, year's worth of access to this textbook. And you can continue on in another course with another instructor or perhaps me again. Okay, so that's your option. That's the only differences between the different licenses that you can purchase. Okay. All right. Purchasing the access codes. The easiest way is going to be directly through the website itself, through our publisher, which is Pearson. You can also purchase access codes through the bookstore. Just make sure you don't just buy a generic access code. Make sure you buy the access code that is specific for this textbook. If you go through the bookstore's website, you'll find your course and you can see the access code that's linked to it. I mean, you can buy them through Amazon, eBay, all kinds of places too. But I'm telling you, the easiest way is directly through the publisher's website. You can also get temporary access, perhaps. That might be an option that is offered to you as you're going through the setup. The temporary access gives you typically a 14-day free trial. You have access to all the assignments, all the homework, all the tests, all the quizzes, everything in that window of opportunity to do as much as you want. After the 14 days, you're kind of blocked out if you haven't paid for it. So just make sure that you pay for the access code within the 14 days so you don't have any assignments come past due. Yeah. All right, calculators. You pretty much can get by in this class with a basic scientific calculator. However, I highly recommend having a graphing calculator. I'm not going to say that it's totally required to have a graphing calculator. Most teachers, especially when you get to calculus, will probably require a graphing calculator. So if you want to invest in one now, I highly recommend the TI-84 calculators. Those are pretty much the most common graphing calculator out there. The 83 is fine as well. The 83 is just the, the late model of the 84. Okay, they both do all the same functions pretty much. All right, scientific calculators, I just put a couple on here that most common ones too. Those are fairly easy to navigate with. If you want to buy one of these scientific ones, I'm not saying it's required. If you have one already, you can just use whatever one you've got. Okay. I like the TI-30XS one if you're going to use that one. The screen is large enough to where you can type in pretty much the problem that you see directly as the same thing in the screen. All right. Core curriculum statements, that's just something that State of Texas makes us include for these particular type of classes. These are the outcomes that you'll learn in this course: critical thinking skills, communication skills, empirical and quantitative skills. Okay. All right, so this is an all online class. Okay, it's run asynchronously, meaning that we're not going to have specific meetings like this on designated times and days. Okay, they're just going to be pretty much random. I'll send out a WebEx invite if you want to attend. That's perfectly fine. If you don't want to, that's fine. I'll always try to record these and send these out. There won't be any instruction going on face-to-face like this, okay, because all the instruction is going to be housed in my math lab. As far as lecture videos, PowerPoints, note-taking, all those kinds of things. All your homework, quizzes, all that's in my math lab. So it's not our typical face-to-face on-campus type of class. I kind of wish it was that way. I really do miss it. But again, it's asynchronous, meaning you're going to do all your homework and whatever other assignments may be in there at your leisure, in a sense, just as so long as they're due by the due date. Okay. All right, so typically, like I said, if I do hold any one of these WebEx conferences, I like doing them a couple of days before a test would open up. So we can kind of just touch base, review a few topics, and answer any questions that anybody may be having any problems with, clarify any kind of concepts or topics that need to be addressed before the test. And also, if you want to just meet one-on-one anytime, I don't have any specific office hours that I'm holding either. Just shoot me an email and say, hey, would you mind doing a little video conference with me? I have a question about number whatever on section blah, 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 or whatever. I just need some clarification on how to work this particular concept. Can you clarify? I'm not getting it through the videos or the PowerPoints or the textbook. So anything you need, if you want to meet, just let me know. Office hours, I'm not picky about what particular time of day it would be. It could be anywhere from, say, 8 o'clock in the morning till, say, 10 o'clock at night sometimes. Okay, so just, again, shoot me an email and we can decide what's best that works for you. All right, so I already talked about my math lab a little bit. Obtaining temporary access. I'll talk a little bit more about my math lab when we actually log into it, so I can show you exactly where to navigate to get to the questions and what's available to you. All right. Attendance. I'm not going to be able to take attendance, right, for an online class. So the only reason I need to take an attendance at one particular point in the course is due to financial aid reasons. A lot of times, if a person drops a class or something like that, financial aid will reach out to us and say, when's the last time this person's ever attended class or something like that, and or has this person ever attended class? So my definition of attendance on here will be completion of this so-called orientation quiz in my math lab. It's the very first thing you have to do in there to be able to move on to any other sections of homework or anything like that. So that's a prerequisite. It won't let you start anything until that is completed. It's very easy. It's basically just off of questions from the syllabus, just to make sure you know what is expected from the course. Okay, so everybody's going to pass that easily. If you don't pass it, take it again until you get 100. It's, I think, only maybe like 10 or 12 questions, so pretty simple. All right, so I do need everybody to get enrolled into my math lab as soon as possible, because obviously classes started yesterday. You should actually start working on assignments sometime this week to make sure you're keeping up. So if you haven't registered in my math lab by Sunday, January 31st, you'll be dropped from the course for non-participation. Okay, so make sure you are at least registered. I'm not saying you have to do any work, but it's really important that you should try to get started with some of the work. But just make sure your name appears on my roster in my math lab. Okay, also speaking of rosters in my math lab, whenever you have to, if you're just signing in and continuing on from maybe a previous course you've had in my math lab or something, you have that same username and password, you can use that. If you want to register from scratch, you can start doing that if you wish. Create your username and password. But when you're going through the registration process, try to use the same name that is listed in Lone Star's official roster. Okay, so whatever you signed up with the college, that name, try to match it to the same name in my math lab. Because at the end of the semester, I got to extract all the grades from my math lab and put them into Lone Star's system. So if those rosters don't match up, it just becomes a nightmare for me trying to match up this list with that list. So please try to use the same name if you can do so. All right. Okay. All right, my math lab, there's going to be two parts there made up of the homework sections, a reading assignment. That's where you're not necessarily going to read the textbook. I know most people in math class don't really do that. Most people use the textbook mostly as a reference, and the instruction comes from me, the instructor, usually if we're face-to-face, but the instruction is going to come in the form of PowerPoints and videos that is done by the author. Okay, so you want to actually see my face doing the instruction for that. The author is Michael Sullivan. I've worked with him, met him a few times. He's an amazing teacher. So I think his work is very, very good at explaining concepts, but everybody's different. If you're watching his videos and you're just not getting it, let me know. Okay, that's what I'm here for. Okay, so we can do this one-on-one like that, and I can maybe explain it to you in maybe a different format than what he's doing. Okay, so all right, so after you watched all the videos and did a little bit of reading, hopefully, did the animations, whatever it may be in that reading assignment, you can move on to the online homework assignment for that part. Okay. Don't dive right into the online homework before doing the reading assignment. Okay, that's gonna waste your time. I can promise you. If you are on an assignment where this material is totally new to you and you just try to do homework and you use all the little help buttons on the side to navigate through the homework, you're not going to learn the material. Okay? The learning is going to take place by watching the videos, and then the practicing of what you learned comes from the homework. It's going to make it so much easier, so much quicker to do your homework if you do it in that order. Okay? if you're having to navigate away from each question to figure out how to work the question, it's going to take you at least twice as long, if not 3 times as long, to navigate through the homework. Okay. It's also going to prepare you for the quizzes and the tests that come after that. Okay, so if you've learned the material, practice the material, and you're going to do well on the quiz and also on the test. So you're going to have to do less preparation when it comes down to studying for the actual test. Okay. All right, quizzes. There are 2 prerequisite knowledge quizzes that need to be completed before, I think I have the date on here, is February 7th. You'll see that later on in the syllabus. But there are 2 of them. It's called College Algebra and Trig Readiness Check Quizzes, I believe they're called. The first one is basically college algebra material, prerequisite stuff that you should have seen before. And then the second one is mostly trig material, same thing, prerequisite stuff that you've seen before that should prepare you for what's to come later on. Okay, take those 2. Each one of those has 2 attempts at them. The highest attempt is the score on record for that quiz. Okay, so some people are going to say, okay, well, what's on those quizzes? Well, you'll see when I open up my math lab, way at the end of your assignments, there are some self-review sections in there. Those are optional. You don't have to complete them all, but those are just some resources just for you to glance through the material and see what kind of questions you can probably expect on the quiz. Okay, so you can just open up each section. You don't have to work the problems in there. You can, if you wish, work a few of them if you just want to do practice before you actually take the quiz. But that way you'll be exposed to some of those questions. You'll see one question and like, yeah, I know how to do that. I don't need to work it. Click on the next one. Yeah, I know how to do that. I know that concept. Move on. Okay. Exams. You're going to have 5 major exams covering one or more chapters. Okay, so they're all online. All their exams are basically all open book. They're unproctored. With this day, with COVID and all of this going on, it's really hard to actually proctor exams these days. I can't send you to a testing center because they just can't accommodate the 25,000 students we have on Lone Star's campus at Sci-Fair. So unproctored, you can use your notes, you can use formulas, use whatever you wish. Try not to use those apps. I know those apps like PhotoMath and Mathway and those kinds of things like that. The type of questions that's going to be on your exam, more than likely they won't be able to work with those apps anyway. So that's just cheating yourself. All of y'all have to take calculus. So who knows what's coming up the next time you have to take calculus. It might be a face-to-face, what teacher you may get, what method they use. They might not allow formulas at all. They may not allow calculators at all. Who knows, right? So just be aware that you still want to get out of this class with the knowledge that prepares you for Calculus 1. Okay, so I say you can use formulas, but I still highly, highly recommend to try to memorize some of those formulas. It's going to be extremely beneficial when it comes to calculus. Okay? Most of the formulas in here aren't too difficult to memorize. I personally am horrible at memorizing things. I like to know formulas, not memorize formulas. So if I can understand a formula's meaning and understand it, I can somehow, a lot of times, derive the formula instead of having to memorize something. Okay, so, and also practice enough. If you do a problem several times using that formula, it just sticks in your brain, right? By just practicing using those formulas. All right, so all the exams, they will be open for 48 hours before the due date. Okay, so they're all password protected. To get into the exam, you're going to have to type in that password right there, spring 2021. And that just tells me, hey, you're ready to take the exam. Okay, so you're given 2 hours, 120 minutes to take the exam. Most exams should not take that long. Okay. Typically, most students run about an hour or so to take each exam. And so that's usually, I've never had any students say they ran out of time taking the exam. Most of the exams are right on track. Okay. So if you need the full 120 minutes, go for it, right? I say, while the exam's up, double check your work, make sure your calculations are right, use your calculator to verify answers, whatever it takes. But while the exam is up, check your work, okay? Because after you close the exam, you can't get back into it. It's done. It's gone. So after you close it, it gets scored immediately. Okay, so you will see your score displayed for your exam. However, you won't be able to review your test until 2 days later. Okay, so also, some of the questions on the exam will require you to show work. Okay, so if, just for example, if you have to solve a quadratic equation or something like that, let's just say, I want to see as much work as possible that you can prove to me you know how to work that problem. Okay. Even with these apps out there, even with PhotoMath, I know you can do the display, show the work, and all that stuff. However, that's a computer or a program that is working out the problem. That's not necessarily a human being doing that. I can definitely tell a human's approach at solving a problem versus a computer's approach at solving a problem. Okay, so just in some of the notation, the manipulation of the equations and stuff like that. So the kind of questions that I ask you to show work are obvious that it would show if a human did it or a computer did it. Okay, so there will only be a handful of questions like that on every test. Okay, so it's not every single question that you have to show your work for. Okay, some questions might be a multiple choice. So I mean, obviously, there may not be work to be shown on that one. All right, so the way you're gonna have to show your work immediately after the test, you need to scan those questions. Okay, I use my cell phone for a PDF scanner. I use Adobe Scanner. Okay, it's free. So all you do is go into the App Store. If you have an Android phone, you can also find those same apps. Okay, so it's really easy. All it does is use your camera on your phone. You place the camera right over the document and it captures it immediately. If you got multiple pages, do the next one on the next page and so forth. And the next thing you do is just save it as a PDF. Right on that screen right there, you know, the little square with the little arrow up. It's a send to button. I select that and I just email it to myself. That's the easiest way to get it onto my computer. Y'all may know of other methods to do that, but that's just the way I do it. I open up my D2L account. There's going to be a folder in there. It's going to say test 1 work upload. Just drop it in there. That's it. I say do this within 5 minutes. I'm not saying if it takes you 6 minutes, I'm not going to grade your work. Yeah, I will. Okay, I just say 5 minutes just to make sure that, hey, you need to do this immediately after your test. Okay, so I'm asking you to do this immediately because that tells me, hey, you've done the work while you were taking the test. You didn't do the scratch work after you took the test or anything like that to go figure out how to work the problem. So again, suppose it says solve this linear equation or something, and the answer is x equals 5. And it specifically had instructions to show your work. When my math lab, you could type in the blank x equals 5 or just 5, however the formatting it wants. And when you submit it, it's going to show it's correct. But I still have to verify your work. Okay, so I'm going to go back into D2L and make sure you have steps that justify x is 5. If you don't have any steps justifying x is 5, I'm taking that credit away from you on the test. Okay, so all your work has to justify your answers in my math lab. Okay, so again, after you take the test, you see your score immediately, but that score won't be updated or finalized until 2 days after the exam has been taken. Okay, so just know that. All right. Any questions so far? I know I've been talking for 30 minutes nonstop already. You probably fell asleep on me, I bet.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So the readiness quizzes are they gonna be like long, like tests, or like just like short quizzes?
Which quizzes are you talking about? The two prerequisite quizzes?
Yeah, the prerequisite quizzes.
Right offhand, I don't remember how long they are. I want to say I'll have to double check. When we get into my math lab, I can tell you exactly how many questions are in each of them. But I think there are about 20 or 25 questions on each quiz.
All right.
It'll
Thanks.
probably take you an hour or so. Most of my quizzes and exams all are about an hour each. So don't expect to have. I think I have it also set. I'll double check again too. The time limits on those quizzes. I may not have any time limits on those quizzes, so you can go and kind of take your time on those. So I'll double check when we get into my math lab and see what those are.
All right.
All right. So those two quizzes, you can take them. You have 2 attempts at it. However, tests themselves, exams, there's only 1 attempt. Okay, so you may want to make sure you do really well and prepare yourself for taking the test. A few good tips before the exam, especially if you're using a laptop, I highly recommend to make sure it's plugged in. Okay, I always keep my laptop plugged in for some reason because I never trust the battery life. Even though it says 80%, it may go down so quickly and freeze on me or knock me out. You don't want to have that happen to you while you're in a test because it's going to block you out. And then next thing you have to do is you have to send me an email saying, I got kicked out of the test. Can you let me back in? I'll have to go review and see if that was a valid reason and so forth. Okay, so if you do get kicked out of the exam, I can kind of tell what may have happened. Most of the time it is a technical issue. But if I can see that you got kicked out of the exam, then you went straight back into the homework. That means you're trying to find that question, okay, in the homework to be able to figure out how to work it. And then if you're trying to get back in the exam. So send me an email immediately if that happens. Okay, I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, it's usually fairly quickly I can let you back into the exam, but I don't want you to email me, say, 24 hours after you've got kicked out. You've been exposed to all the questions and you know exactly which ones to go find the answers to. Okay, so maximize the screen on your computer so that you don't accidentally click outside of that screen, because clicking outside of that screen, the program thinks again that you're going to look outside of the test for answers. So maximize that screen totally. Restart your computer before you begin. Because if you got a lot of programs running, it's taking up a lot of computer memory, they may freeze up sometimes during the middle of the test. You don't want that to happen. So just close out any programs that might be running, restart the computer, have a fresh start. Also pay attention to the time that's ticking down during the test. All right, I've seen this happen in the past where if you do have programs running in the background or something taking up a lot of memory, sometimes your test will freeze up and it's going to look like the timer has just stopped. Okay, so it may say you have 55 minutes and you come back 20 minutes later, it still says 55 minutes. However, you don't have 55 minutes. Okay, so just be aware of that. Pay attention to when you're starting the test. You've got 2 hours from when you start to complete it. So just watch out for that timer in case it freezes up on you. Okay. Everybody's in this class is allowed to have one exam extension, okay, so, or a block of homework that is due on a particular day extension. So for the exams, if it looks like that you're not going to be prepared or ready to take the exam, something's come up or whatnot, just let me know before the due date of the exam. Hey, could I have an extension to the test? I will extend it for 2 additional days, and that way you could take it within that period of time if you wish. So just send me an email again if you want to do that. You get one of those extensions, either a test extension or a homework deadline extension. For the homework, I'll extend it up to a week because you may have multiple sections that need to be extended, okay? All right, so again, contact me before the due date. Emails, if you're going to email me, I'm not too strict about using a clear subject line. It's just something I put in there. I kind of stole from someone else. But all this stuff, all this etiquette stuff, it's not all that important to me. But the most important thing is right here, just letting me know what class you're in. Just say, hi, this is so-and-so. I'm from your pre-calculus class, okay? I have a question about blah, 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 okay? I teach 5 other classes. I have a calculus class, statistics class, another pre-calculus class. So I've got several classes out there. I can't just put names to the classes, especially right now at the beginning of the semester. I don't know you guys just yet. Okay, so, and unfortunately, I won't get to know y'all as well as I would normally get to know you if we had a face-to-face in-class meeting. Okay. All right. All right, so the way your grade is determined, it's weighted averages. So at the end of the semester, I take all your homework scores, okay, and I average those up. I'll drop the 3 lowest ones out of there in case you missed a deadline or something like that. That's no big deal. Everybody has a hiccup here and there. Okay, so 3 of the lowest ones get dropped. And you can see down here, I have an example of how your average is actually calculated. So that average, I multiply it times 20%, so 0.20. Then I add it to the next average, which is the average of these online quizzes, those 2 self-review quizzes. So those are due before February 7th. That makes 10% of your overall grade. So each one at 5%. So the average of those 2 multiply times 10%. So that's the second part right here. And so these are just hypotheticals right here. I just put in there. Your 5 online exams, the average of those, I multiply that times 50% and add it to the other 2. And the same thing with the final exam score. The final exam is comprehensive. Don't let that scare you. That's everything over the entire semester you will be tested on. But to be able to get towards the end of the semester, you have to pretty much use everything you've learned prior to it. So in my opinion, your final exam is mostly the easiest test because you've learned everything and it's just a general review of what you have learned throughout the entire semester. So multiply that grade times 0.20, 20%, and that comes out with your overall class average. Now, just a word of warning, when you're in my math lab, there's always going to be an overall score displayed to you when you look in your grade book. Now, that overall score can change significantly throughout the course of the semester. What it does is my math lab grades based on categories, just like I have here, but if you only have taken 1 test, it's still going to weight that 1 test at 50% now. It weights it at the entire category. So it can be inflated some. So if you're trying to see your current standing in the course, I always say if all your averages are roughly the same, so if you look at your homework average, you look at your quiz average, and you look at your test average, basically the average of those averages pretty much makes up your current standing in the class. Okay? So if you have any other questions about specifically what grades are needed to be successful in the course, feel free to get with me. It's a little difficult to predict that since there's going to be so many unknowns until you get towards the end of the semester. Okay, so another thing, a lot of people, when they first take these 2 quizzes, that's kind of the first part that's going to be a major component of your overall semester average that you will see. When you take those 2, some people don't do so well on them, okay? Don't let that scare you and think you won't do well in the course. That's only 10% of your grade, okay? So even if you made zeros on both of those quizzes, right, 10% out of the entire semester, that means you still have 90% to work with. If you make hundreds on everything else, you can still get an A in the class, right? So it's not detrimental to you saying you're going to fail the class if you do terrible on those. So it only counts as 10% of your entire course. So even if you made 50s, say that's your average. Well, 10% of 50, that counts as 5% towards your overall semester average. So now you're looking at starting in the course with, instead of 100%, you're at 95%, which is still fine. Okay, you still have a lot of leeway. You have 10 percentage points between letter grades. All right, so don't think that's going to be your overall, say, if you made a 50 on those quizzes, that doesn't mean you're going to make 50s on everything else, okay? So that doesn't determine how well you'll be successful in the course, okay? So there's the grading scale, 10-point grading scale. I actually have it as 89.5, 79.5. Those are your lowest A's and B's and so forth, okay? So I do round up to like the 90s and stuff like that. All right. All right, somewhere throughout the course, you'll have the opportunity to do a course evaluation on me. If you go into your Lone Star account, mylonestar.edu, you'll be able to somewhere find the course and submit an evaluation. You can say how wonderful of a teacher I am, the best thing you've ever had for a college instructor, whatever, however you put whatever you want in there. I don't actually see these until the next semester, and it's all anonymous anyway, so I don't get to see who said what about me. Okay. All right, so usually as an incentive for people to complete those evaluations, I'll offer a couple bonus points, usually probably to the final exam or something, add a couple points to that. So please, if you can do that, I'd appreciate it. And I'll give you more instruction later on throughout the semester, begging you guys to do that. And I'll tell you about the bonus points too. All right, some important dates. Yesterday was the first day of class officially. Official day of record is February the 1st. That just means if you're still on my roster after February 1st, you haven't withdrawn from the course or anything like that, that means you will be getting a grade that will be put onto your transcript. So A, B, C, D, or F, maybe an incomplete if it happens to you have any kind of justification for that. If you withdraw from the course, you can get a W instead of a letter grade that affects your GPA. That just has to be done before April the 9th. Okay. The midday point of record, that's just another official day that we just have to verify our class rosters to make sure they're correct. All right, the final exam, that's going to be on May the 11th. Okay, so that's the due date of the final exam. So it would actually be available to you on the 10th and the 11th. Okay. And then we have spring break coming up. Everybody's looking forward to that. I am. March 15th through the 21st, I will be on vacation. Okay, so somebody asked earlier yesterday about this, about me answering emails. So I'm pretty good about responding back pretty quickly. Let me just tell you, for spring break, it may take me a day or two sometimes if you email me, and because I'll be in Hawaii sitting on the beach. Okay, so if I don't respond to you as quickly as I normally do, that's why. Just consider spring break. We're all off. Okay? So you'll see, even with the tentative schedule, I don't have anything due for you on spring break. Okay, you don't have anything to do during that week. Now you do have a due date on Sunday, the March 14th. So Saturday is the 13th, starts our spring holiday. So just be aware that that is a due date, not a DO date. Okay, you don't have to do work on these days unless you want to. But just make sure you have it completed before then. So I have all your due dates on Sundays. All your tests are on Tuesdays. Okay. I'd highly recommend just printing this part of the syllabus, at least this part out. Okay, keep it with your notebook or something like that with your notes. All right, so that way you can actually keep a running schedule of what you should be doing when. So I have most of the sections, like 2 or 3 sections due per week. So make sure you're doing these. For an online class, you don't want to wait to the last minute. I can tell you that is the biggest downfall for most students, is procrastination in an online class. I've taken a couple of them when I was in school, and be honest, online, that wasn't for me. I didn't care for it. Now, this was several years ago, but I rather the face-to-face interaction. I just didn't have the willpower or at that particular point in my life to sit down and just do work on my own. So I know it's a challenge for some people. It's just nowadays with COVID, I mean, that's how college is being run now, right? So some of you may be fortunate enough to even have some classes on campus, but I know the majority of everyone is doing everything virtual these days. So try to set yourself up a schedule. If you're one of those persons that know you don't like online classes, think of this as a face-to-face classes. Set you up a schedule in a sense. Go and say every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at, say, 10 o'clock in the morning, whatever fits your schedule, from, say, 12 o'clock noon or something like that. I will work on math 24/12. Okay. Think about it. You're at campus in that sense. Okay. I'm getting my instruction. Watch the videos. Take notes. Okay. I can't stress enough how important the videos are. Okay. That's the type of instruction you want to get through an online class. Okay. You just don't want to dive straight into homework without watching the videos. Okay. So that's going to be your normalcy in a sense, is getting the instruction that way, and watching some videos and actually taking notes. Then when you're done with that, do the homework. It prepares you for the quizzes. There's practice quizzes in there right before every test, and then you'll do well on the test. Okay. All right, so there are all the topics and sections that we'll cover. You can see the first test is mostly just your college algebra and trig stuff, okay? It doesn't have a lot to do with pre-calculus stuff just yet. So most of everything in test 1 are things that you have seen before. All right. Now, I'll tell you, most people, if I've seen this, I've been teaching pre-calculus for a number of years now, that their first test is usually not their best test. It gets easier as we progress throughout the semester. You'll see, suppose you made a 70 on test 1. Typically, it goes up a letter grade for test 2. And typically, it goes up another letter grade or so on test 3 or something like that. That's typical. I'm not saying that's going to happen to everybody, but usually the class average in general always keeps getting better and better and better as we go through all the tests. Okay? Especially the last 2 tests, test 4 and 5, mostly all that is graphing calculator work. So if you do have a graphing calculator, you're going to have some really easy ways to come up with the answers for these. Okay, matrix algebra and stuff like that, linear equations, systems of linear equations, that is, and sequences and all that. The graphing calculator really helps out a lot. Okay. What else? Just let you know, if you do need to go on campus for any reason, if you do have classes over there, if you've been there, you know the protocols and everything, that the procedures you have to go through, but they take your temperature and all that stuff. You got to wear a mask, obviously, before you get into a building, all that stuff. If you have any type of COVID exposure, please don't go to campus. Okay. But if you do have any other classes on campus, that allows you to utilize our tutoring center too, if you want to. Okay, the tutoring center is upstairs in the library. Now, the library itself is actually closed, but you can get to the tutoring center through the main entrance, I believe, of the library. And there are tutors there. I'm not sure how it works with the COVID thing. You may have to make an appointment. But right here, let me get down to the tutoring center right here, the Academic Success Center. So if you click on this, it brings you directly to their webpage, and you can see all the information about the times and availability that are there. They also do online tutoring, so you can do it virtually through WebEx conferences as well. Good. I highly recommend using those if you think you need them. They are free. Okay, so if you had to hire a private tutor, you're probably looking in the range of, I don't know, 30 to 40 bucks, something like that, for a private tutor per hour. Okay, so, I mean, utilize those guys. I mean, ever since this COVID exposure from last spring, they've been pretty bored. Okay, so they're just sitting at a computer waiting for people to come in. Okay. All right, so get back where I was. Yeah, okay. All right, so if you want to withdraw from the course and get a W put on your transcript and not a letter grade, again, that has to be done before April the 9th. It is your responsibility to do that. Don't ask me to drop you from the course. I won't do it. Or just think, I stopped attending, he's going to drop me from the course. No, I won't. Your name's on my roster, you're getting a letter grade, okay? So the only way your name will stays on my roster and there is a W is because you initiated it, okay? So make sure that if you want to not have, say, an F or so or a D or whatever grade, you're not wanting to be on your transcript and have that become a W, make sure you email scifair.registration@lonestar.edu. Tell them what class you're in, you're wishing to drop from the course. Okay. You should get a confirmation back. Also, you can log into my Lone Star and you should see a W for the grade of record for that course. All right. So speaking of W's, if you plan on transferring to another Texas institution, some schools do not accept, won't admit you if you have more than 6 W's on a transcript. So just keep that in mind. Okay. All right, so the rest of the syllabus is mostly everything about the legalities, academic appeals. If you think if you want to file a complaint or anything like that, or disagree with the grade that you've gotten in the course, obviously talk to me first. We can probably resolve it that way, but if you want to bypass that, feel free. Academic integrity, please. On the college level, cheating is considered a really, really serious offense. Okay, so all kind of different sanctions can take place. An F for the course, you can be expelled from the college, all kinds of things. So please try not to cheat. I know you're saying, well, all your exams are proctored. Isn't that cheating? In a sense, but I'm allowing you to do that. I'm just meaning don't let somebody else take your test for you. Don't use those programs to come up with answers that I have no clue how to work with, but let me make sure I come up with the right answer. Just use your own sense of judgment for some of this stuff. Okay. All right, so again, we know all about all those apps out there to come up with answers quickly. Okay. All right. Student behavior expectations. Again, have respect for each other. I know you're not going to be able to communicate much with other students in the class. Okay. However, you and I probably will communicate most often through emails and things of that sort. So just be respectful. I never want anybody to think that any of my emails I send out to be as rude. Even though they are just words on the screen, 2 different people reading the same words can interpret them differently, right? Some people may think, like, he has an attitude. He's extremely rude to me. My emails are never, ever, ever intended to be rude or disrespectful at any time to anyone. So just point that out there. And I expect the same thing. When I read your emails, I don't read them as that, oh, they're being really ugly to me. I don't take it to that point unless you're saying some really nasty things to me, then I may take it that way. So, but again, just try to be respectful in any kind of emails. Okay. And I can tell you, most people, I've never had any type of rude emails sent to me. I can tell you, the most respectful students I've ever had, or my Lone Star students. My other university I was at, they were respectful, but I've never seen quite the level of respect that Lone Star students give their professors. All right. All right, FERPA, that's the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. That just tells that I won't disclose your grades to anybody but you. Okay, so if I get an email from you saying, hey, what's my grade in this class? I'm a little hesitant to release those because I need to make sure that the person on the other side of that email is you. So I've been told that typically if I get an email from a personal email account, I can't disclose any grades that way. Okay, so if I am requested to give out a grade and it comes from an official Lone Star email account, then they say, yeah, that's sort of okay, because Lone Star issued that email address to specifically you. You've created the password. You've got that information. Okay, so all your grades are housed into my math lab. So if you want someone else to have access to your grades, that means you are giving them your username and your password. So it's out of my control now. So all your grades are always going to be in my math lab. You can see your test grades, homework grades, all that stuff. So if you want your parents to access that, that's up to you. Okay, if a parent emails me and say, I want to know so-and-so's grades, I will not still disclose those grades to a parent at all. And the parent may say, well, I have this form filled out and signed saying it gives me the right to know his grades. Okay, I'm going to direct that person to one of our deans, and they will instruct me what to do after that. Okay, so until I get instruction from my superiors, still your grades are your grades. All right, so just know that. All right, what else we've got? Talk about Academic Success Center. Try to use those if you need to. Americans with Disabilities Act. If you have any type of documented disability, I should be getting emails about all of that stuff from actually one of these from Disability Services. And I'll make arrangements if I need to extend times and tests or whatever the accommodations would have to be. Okay. If you know that for certain, please email me too, especially before test, to make sure those accommodations have been met for you. All right, counseling services. If you want to just talk to somebody, if you're stressed out, school is overwhelming. We all know that's true, right? Especially in these times with COVID. If it's just looks like you're falling behind and you need advice on what to do, feel free to reach out to someone, okay? They have the counseling services there. There's their email and phone number. If you want to just talk to me, I can direct you to somewhere or whatnot. I'm not a professional counselor. Please don't take that. All right, the library, they're closed. You can check out books, I think, virtually. They have like a little pick up and drop off section if you want to do that. All right, so that's about it. That's a brief overview of the entire syllabus. Okay, so let me get into my math lab. Let me get that number really quick. So any questions so far before I move on? Are we good? All right. So if you type in mymathlab.com, that brings you directly to the sign-in site. Now, there's all kind of different addresses for my math lab. You can see right there. You put in whatever this is, mlm.peers. I don't memorize that. I just type in my math lab. But you might want to bookmark it so it's easy access afterwards to sign in. All right, so if you use my math lab before, and I bet 99% of you have used it before, if you've taken any kind of college algebra or trig, definitely at Lone Star College, you've used it. So you can just sign in if you remember your username and password. If you forgot it, click on forgot. They'll send you an email on how to reset it or figure out what it is. Okay. If you don't remember it, or if you're just new to it, you can sign in as a student. So let's register as a student. I'll show you what that process looks like a little bit. Definitely need an email address. Make sure when you're typing in your email address, it is 100% correct. If you're going to use your Lone Star email addresses, it's some format of your name and some numbers perhaps, and then it's at my.LoneStar.edu. So my.lonestar.edu. Make sure those periods in there, especially between the my and the Lone Star. If not, anytime I send an email to you, or if you forget your password and you need to figure it out, they send it all to the email on record in my math lab. So if it's the wrong email, you're not getting any of that information. So just be really careful about that. Okay. The instructor's course ID, that's that Smith, whatever numbers it was just now. And then an access code you can buy directly through the publisher's website. That's going to be your cheapest option. Or you can get it through the bookstore again if you want to do it that way. All right, so if I click on register, let me just show you. It's going to, next screen, type in the course ID. Smith 90414, continue. And then it says right here, again, sign in with your Pearson account. If you have one, it's just a reminder again. If not, you create it. And then you follow through the steps. and just go through the steps to create the account. So once you create the account, it's going to next will say go to your course. You'll click on that button, and let me get back to my math lab. Okay. You'll probably be already signed in, but you can come back here at a later date to sign in. All right, so after you create your account, you're going to see right here, Math 2412 Pre-Calculus Spring 2021. You'll click on that. And now you're into the course. Okay. So you guys won't see this managed course, the frequently asked questions. I disabled those, so that won't be on your screen. But what you would see, the course home, is this page right here. It's kind of just an overlook of everything that's going on. Yours is a little bit different. Let's see, your student view would look like this. There we go. You'll have a calendar of things to do, some little icons about due dates and those kinds of things. Most people don't even pay attention to the screen. That's fine, because I put over here, begin here. Before you start any assignments in the course, you have to do that orientation quiz. So the orientation quiz is based off the syllabus and information in here. So here's just a little welcome message. Okay, click on the online orientation, and then you'll click on each one of these tabs here that tells you about reading assignments, homework assignments, taking tests. So skim through some of this stuff. Okay. And then when you go back, the syllabus will be in here. I think I have it in here. Yeah, it's there for you guys. Okay. Now right here, I put right here course section. Either you're in 5015 or 5017. That's really not all that important for you guys, but the syllabus is there. All right, so if I go back here, the next thing you want to do, I put some important formulas in here. Again, you don't have to memorize any formulas for this online class. If it was a face-to-face class, yeah, you should memorize those formulas. So they're in there for you. It begins all the way back with college algebra formulas that you're supposed to have known already. But the pre-calculus formulas are towards the bottom, are things that you definitely need to be extremely familiar with. Okay, these are all the formulas that will be used throughout the entire semester. Okay, again, try not to memorize formulas. Try to understand formulas mostly. Like just for example, these polar equations right here. I know what these mean. Like E and P, I know what those mean. E is the eccentricity, P is the number of units from the pole in this case. Okay. And then the formatting, pluses and minuses with cosines and sines. I know what the meaning of the cosine does to this formula and the meaning that sine does to this formula, or these equations, I should say. Okay. So again, a lot of understanding about meanings, especially this binomial theorem. Some of you guys may have seen this in like an Algebra 2 class, how to expand a binomial. Again, I don't memorize that. That's too many letters, numbers, pluses and parentheses and exponents all over. I memorize a format, okay? A format of how to come up with my solutions. Okay. All right, so the next thing is the assignments. That's probably where everybody's going to go to first to get started in the class as far as material-wise. All right, so there's your online quiz. You have to make 100 on there to be able to move on. Okay. Everything in here on your assignments is all done in chronological order of when you should be working on things. And reference back to the syllabus on that tentative schedule if you need to. Okay. All right, so college algebra and trig, readiness check quizzes. I'll click on it real quick. Oh, I got the prerequisite. I'll have to go into another place to look at it. All right. Your grade book. Okay, so there is this is going to be your overall semester average right here. It's going to be a running total in a sense. When you click on show calculation, it's going to break it down into their categories: homework, quizzes, tests, and your final right there. Okay, so again, that homework category is weighted at 20%. The test is weighted at 50% right there. So if you only have one test in there, that whole one test is 50%, not the actual 10% that is each individual test is weighted at. All right. Chapter contents, that's your textbook. So if you want to look at that. The multimedia library, that's where you can access PowerPoints, you can watch videos, so you can select whatever chapter you're in, whatever section you're in, select all and see what's available to you if you want other resources. Okay. Student resources, you got a few videos in here. You can play around in here if you want to. All right, so let me go into and show you. Somebody had asked how many questions were on the quizzes. So let me show you what that looks like. Orientation quiz. All right, there's 14 questions in the orientation quiz. Okay. It's not going to take you very, very long to do this. Most of them are multiple choice, so it's just clicking the correct answer. College algebra, quiz 1. We've got 26 questions in there, and it's going to take you approximately 47 minutes, okay? So it shouldn't take you too long to do that. And it's probably about the same for the second one. The second one, I have 21 questions, and it'll take you about 44 minutes. So that's an estimated time. Some people may take a little bit longer than 44 minutes. Some people might take 10, 15 minutes. Who knows? It just all depends on your, I guess, on your, how good you are in math, in a sense, right? How good you remember any of this stuff. All right. Before every test is a practice test. You can take that as many times as you want. It's extremely similar to the actual test. It won't be identical to it. Obviously, the numbers are going to change in my math lab. The concepts are going to be the exact same concepts. So when I'm meaning, if let's just say you may have the concept of, say, solve a linear equation. It's not going to be that simple, but that's the concept. That's the learning objective. Well, a linear equation could come in many different forms. It might be x plus 2 equals 5. It may be 3 times parentheses x plus 2 equals 5. It may be 3 parentheses x plus 2 equals 5 times parentheses x minus 7. So they all have the same concept. So just be aware of that. Okay, so if you know the concept, then you're going to be able to do the test questions. Okay? But again, the test is going to be extremely similar in nature to the practice test. So take that practice test several times. The questions change. So be able to be exposed to as many possible questions that you'll see on the test. All right. I also told you, let me go back to your assignments, which you would normally see. So to be prepared a little bit for these college algebra quizzes, college algebra and trig readiness check quizzes. I have to give it such a complicated title, huh? Way at the bottom are the self-review sections. So it starts with 2.1. So if you open that up, these are not included in your grade, so you don't have to work every question. Just pick and choose some things in there if you want to work them. Okay, just kind of look at it. So you can go through every one of these, open it up. I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on here, but it's just a quick review of concepts that's going to be on those 2 quizzes. Okay. All right. think that is about it. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to stop sharing that. All right, I'm just looking in the chat to see if anybody said anything. Nope, nothing. All right. All right, well, it was nice to meet some of you guys. Okay, it's the same names that I see on my rosters. A couple of you guys, I saw video faces earlier. So, but again, welcome to pre-calculus. Keep on pace. Print out that syllabus, especially the part with the tentative schedule, so you know exactly what you should be doing every week. Stay on task. Don't procrastinate. Get ahead of schedule if you can. I always say try to be at least 1 or 2 assignments ahead of, maybe a week ahead of their due dates. So that way, if something comes up, then you can fall back and you can tackle that situation, and then you're not going to start getting overwhelmed and trying to play catch up. Okay, so something will come up during the semester. It always happens. Okay, so just be prepared for that. So get yourself on a good running start. First test is coming around the corner. When is the first test? Let me see. Go back to the syllabus. Just make yourself aware and be prepared. The first test is on February 9th. Okay, so keep that in mind. So it's going to come around the corner quicker than you think. So make sure you're not working all weekend long before that Tuesday on all of your assignments to prepare yourself and study for that test. You still want to study for the test, even though the test is open book. Okay, make sure you know the concepts, you know the formulas that will be needed, those kinds of things. Okay, so don't wait till the last minute and then take the test and be unprepared. All right. Well, again, you guys have a great day. I look forward to working with a lot of you. Send me emails. Keep in communication with me if you need any help or anything. I'm here for you guys anytime. So with that, I'll end this meeting. Y'all have a great day. And good luck. Goodbye.